Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. Really appreciate it, man. How are you today?
Absolutely. I'm doing fantastic here in sunny Florida. I appreciate you having me on the show.
That's great. And I wish I could say that too, in UK, it's sunny. So it's a cloudy, gloomy days most of the time. Uh, Although it's hoping for spring comes up and then probably summer soon. So we are getting there, right? So February, then probably March, April, start to see some lights coming towards it. So yeah, it's interesting to have a conversation about today. We'll be talking about which is benefits of not drinking alcohol. And I know you wanted to talk about that. And also you are a coach yourself, you're a hockey coach, right? So yeah, obviously when you're playing sports and things like that, you have to be fit. You have to have always your A game and being alert all the time. So walk me through what do you do currently? And then we can go about that topic.
Yeah. First off, I can definitely relate to you. I grew up in Connecticut. So it's dark and gloomy, gray skies all the time. And then we owned two homes in New Hampshire. So a lot of ice picking our mailbox. So I'm right there with you, man. Um, but yeah, so I mean, for me, I've actually jumped into the fitness racing world, and it's been a great way to mark something on the calendar to take my health seriously, but also allow myself to push myself outside of my comfort zone to allow great things in my life and my business or being a dad.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about the benefits of not drinking alcohol. And not many people are talking about that because obviously alcohol is social thing. If you go for a dinner, you're going for a bar or catching up with your friends, everyone like to go for a sip and they go about that. So not many realize that until they have some kind of problem, they kind of
Yes.
disease, liver problem and things like that. Now is as some kind of problem, but before that it's just a kind of water and you're drinking as a soft drink kind of thing. So what is the benefits are we talking about if you don't drink?
So there's so many benefits. Do you want me to go back through the history of my experience with
Yeah, yeah,
drinking?
sure. Yeah.
Okay. So so it goes way back. So in high school, I did not drink alcohol at all. I was actually known as Sober Dan, like literally Sober Dan every time I went to a party. And I left early. So as soon as I showed up, all my friends who were not supposed to be drinking alcohol in high school, they were like, Sober Dan's here, and people are chanting. So that was my thing. And then I got to college, and it was like it's two pronged. So there's a lot of negatives to it, but there's some positives to the situation of drinking alcohol. Where the positive was it allowed me to find myself, and the reason why I drank was to cultivate that image that I created when I was drinking. Um, so shit. Oh, did I lose you? So I was so yeah, I was sober Dan, and then when I got to college, was that first night on campus. Obviously, you know, everybody's drinking, and you try it, and then it's like this buzz feeling. You're like, oh my gosh, like it's just kind of like you're like a superhero, and you're able to do things differently and dance with girls and not have any fear, and it's like
Mm,
numbed all the straight edge Dan and allowed this new reckless, adventurous Dan out. And it was almost as if I was seeking that person every single weekend. And then obviously by the time you go to junior in college, you're doing it on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And honestly, I would have done way better at college hockey if I just stayed off of it.
right.
A huge benefit would have been me scoring more goals for my team, would have finished my senior year at a different level. Um, but you know, either way, I had a good season naturally. But if I actually paid attention more to not drinking alcohol, I definitely would have been better in my studies, and I would have been better. Um, at my sport. So after college, I ended up getting a house. Well, actually, I played minor league hockey for 4 years, so everyone there drinks. There's a lot
Mm,
of downtime during the week, and we go to happy hour at 5 o'clock, and then we go to the bar at 7, and then we'd be heading home from the bar at 10 because we have practice the next morning at 9. So we were not out too late, but we was enough alcohol. You do it almost every day. It's
yeah.
like it's so much, and it kills your pocket financially. You're willing to go into debt for it. You don't realize how much you paid on your bill until you look in your pocket from the jeans and the night before, hoping that you remembered all the entire night, right? But then me and my wife, we got married and we got a house in New Hampshire. I proposed to her and I stopped playing hockey. But the party never stopped. Our house turned into the ugly sweater party. It turned into a Halloween party with
Mm,
punch and any if it was anyone's birthday or any kind of celebration, it equaled alcohol. It was around us. It was just something to do. So I went from being super in shape, even though I drank alcohol, to slowly getting this dad bod and
right.
slowly getting this pudginess. But my biceps were strong, but my stomach was like kind of, I don't know what's going on. So I moved to Florida and I didn't realize what was going on until I got to Florida, where we go to the beach
Yeah.
and you have to wear no shirt, and then you don't want to be that
Yeah.
guy in the pool or the beach with the shirt on, the wet shirt that everybody has when you go out there with no confidence, right? And you have your smoking wife in a bikini, and you're just hiding your body in a shirt, and that kind of hurt. I was like, man, I mean, I took my shirt off, but I was just like, I never wanted to be in the photos. If I was hiding my kids in front of me. So I had an adverse reaction, not
Mm,
a benefit, to me not respecting the man in the mirror. I was not happy with myself. I did not respect myself. I didn't know what to do. I put my career first over my body. Um, but I kept drinking like every weekend till 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. Super irresponsible. 5 bedroom house, full time job, making good money. But then finally, I think I was on my second child with a newborn, and one of our friends was just got pregnant, and she said, and I love challenges. So if anyone was like, "Hey, Dan, take a shot and drink this same time," I'm like, "Yes, I will." Like I would never say no.
yeah.
Just a competition personally. And then, so I never said no, but then I got this awesome new challenge that I didn't say no. And she said, "Hey, who doesn't want to drink with me for 9 months?" Just joking during her pregnancy. And I said, "I'll do it." And I was like, all right. So I did that. 9 months turned into one year, turned into 2 years, turned into 3 years, turned into 4 years. And I feel amazing. I went from thinking I needed it for the image to hang out with people to being like, I don't like that image anymore. I don't like the chances of drama. I like to make sure I have enough energy to be present for my kids the next day instead of hungover. I love the fact that I work out on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings.
Mm,
Those are things you can't do when you're drinking. And everything is drinking. Think about what happens to drinking. There's gossip, there's eating stuff you're not supposed to, there's staying up late, there's taking risks, there's being around people to potentially flirt. Like it's just a bad sauce, and
yeah.
I don't recommend it. So the benefit of it is you stay out of trouble.
And what did you see like a change, like when you stopped for yourself, like physically or like mentally, both wise?
So physically, taking that out of my life, I lost weight. Um, I also had a lot less anxiety.
Mm,
I enjoyed wearing no shirt in my house in front of my kids. Um, I took my health more seriously. It was like had more clarity. Like I had more clarity to be me and recognize the things. So it's like something I just posted for my dad athletes for my podcast is like, just because we're there physically with our kids doesn't mean that we are present with our kids. And
yeah.
that's so true, because you can be there, but if you're staring at your phone on Instagram, or you're just sitting there just to sit there, you should be really asking your daughter, like, hey, how do you like the show, or what's your favorite part, or cuddle up next to them, or hey, do you want something to drink? Like, you just have to be in tune, and nobody's perfect. We all fall on
Yeah.
our face. Like, to be a good dad, you got to literally fail every single day and learn your lesson. Mentally, like I just said, clarity. is just awareness. Like sometimes my wife would say, like, I just don't think you're like even here and present in this conversation. And it was, we got more time on the weekends together because you're not trying to hang out with the boys,
Mm.
um, or go to a bachelor party or because it's your buddy's birthday, you have to go out. No, like I'm here. Like I'm either with my kids or with my wife. And it's helped me to realize that this is my tribe. Because there's a lot of friends out there that are not truly your friends. They're just drinking friends.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't really know who they really are. And sometimes they're like haters too. And they're around. They're just like, all right,
Mm.
they're talking about me right now. And it's drama. I don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. So it's just I know it's hard. I'm not telling you, because if you drink alcohol all the time, I'm not saying you're not great. I'm not saying you're the worst. I'm saying if I could do it, you could do it. And the benefits are just it's tenfold. It's like I'm trying to give a good example, but it's almost like driving the same car and then um your engine fails and then you just put a new engine in there and you're like, wow, this thing is zipping around, man. It's
Yeah.
just a new life. It's cool. We only live once. So things do sneak up on you. I had high blood pressure. That was one reason why I also slowed down drinking. I left the
Mm.
beers and the liquor and I just had some occasional wine with my wife for about a year and a half and made sure I never had more than three. And that was like a year and a half process.
Yeah.
And then eventually that challenge was the piece that I needed competitively because I'm an athlete. I was like,
Mm.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And before you know, I woke up like, oh, like, what am I doing on a Sunday? I'm like building IKEA desks, and I don't like doing that. And I did it, and like it's just I'm just more here, and I think everybody can do it and benefit from it.
That's great, brother. And so, what are those steps did you take in order to like getting out of the alcohol and everything? Like, it's not easy, like especially like for yourself. Like when you are like the person, like everyone knows you for a party and then everything, you're hosting it, all of these, and getting out of like, I don't want to drink anymore, and just stepping back. Like how everyone took it, and like what did you do in order to like stopping for yourself?
So for me, that's tough. But we did our family's super uncommon. There's so many conventional, traditional people that are out there that it's just part of the norm. You leave college, or if you went to college, you don't have to go to college, but say if you went to college and then you get a full-time job and then you buy a house and you get engaged and before that, whatever it is,
Mm.
and you have kids and then you grow this little network of people. You may not like them, they may not like you, but you're part of their network. You still go to their parties, you still hang out with them, they still come over. There's little birthday parties, and we are not interconnected like that. Like we are nomadic, like uncommon people. So when we moved, we just randomly moved to Florida because we had our newborn and we wanted to raise her in the summer sun.
Right.
And we moved down to Florida. We left all our friends. They had no more parties to go to. Um, and neither did we, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we moved down to Florida, and that was one piece. So it was like cutting the head off the snake. There's no reason for me to just have a random party for no
Hmm.
reason. To the point I had trouble like allowing myself in to meet new friends in my neighborhood, even though it was like one of those planned communities. Um, and it was like super social. Like they had something every weekend for people. And at first it was kind of weird. And then eventually kind of we just fell in our own little bubble just with a couple of friends. So that was a big piece, is making sure you just kind of cut off everything. If you need to move. I think a lot of people are tied down by all of these things on their schedule by being in a town where you grew up. It's so many
Yeah.
people. It's like you walk into this Walmart and you're like, five people by the time you leave. Um, but so that was one step. The second step was getting high blood pressure medication and having the doctor put his hand on my chest saying, he's like, Daniel, your heart is beating out of your chest. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, well, if you continue going down this path, you're going to need this blood pressure medication right here.
Mm.
And I'm like, what? Like, I used to be like the motion shape in most of my teams. What is going on right now with my life? And it just, it was one of those moments I was disgusted with myself. I was like, who are you? Like, how did you get to this moment. And I realized I took everything from the image of being a professional hockey player and I put that all into work. I took all that out of that. So my physical competition no longer became physical. It became into beer pong, Call of Duty, and
Yeah.
um, work established, winning the trip on the sales team. And man, it kind of fires me up just hearing about that process where I gave up on my body. I forgot about it. I no longer worked out. I didn't do anything like that. I mean, I did some occasional aesthetic pumps for your biceps to look
Mm.
good because that's what we do as men. And they make these t-shirts that allow men to hide their bellies, but it hikes up on their arms.
Yeah.
It's like the dad bod certified. Um, but it's like it's really not worth it. And your wife says that she loves it. She does not. Um, if you really want to know the truth. And it's tough because a lot of that can lead into marriage issues as well,
Yeah.
because the wife may be lying, but then find someone else. But then the wife might be in total great shape because she's doing kickboxing every single day at 5 a.m., but he's not. And he's like nervous that she's going to do something and then he does something.
Mm.
So it's just like that. That's why there's so many like broken families out there in the world. If we can take care of ourselves, it trickles to our kids, it trickles to our wife. Like the better I do, the better my wife does. The better my wife does, the better I do. And we just feed off each other. Um, so yeah, I mean, I was kind of going off of that, but I think I think I fell in love with coffee. Like I got some right here. It's not the best thing for you, but I will not lose my memory from it, and it
Yeah.
will not hurt my liver. And it won't make me say something I'm not supposed to, right? Um, Also, I've taken my addiction into sports and racing.
Mm.
So, sports racing with High Rocks, DECA, hybrid events, where I've taken my addiction and obsession to sports that will better my body and get me outside of my comfort zone, but now also to motivate other men to take back their health the same way. Because what happens is when we're lost, like when men have problems, we keep it inside. We don't show it. Like we literally look like we're happy, but we're screaming on the inside. And so is our gut full of inflammation from all the junk we're eating and all the like we also hold our emotions in our gut. So if you're feeling guilt or sadness or anger, it's all there. So yeah, I think just transition from addiction of alcohol to addiction of loving yourself and taking it to the another level fitness wise.
That's great, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, what will be your number one advice to someone is going through the process? They want to like stop or consuming the alcohol, and they going through the process, but it is a really tough decision, isn't it? So, what would be like your one thing like you can give them like for they can take on today and probably implement it?
I think your why and your purpose is the strongest thing. Even when you do racing and sports or anything, kind of if you're focusing on trying to be the best lawyer in your city, whatever it is, you really got to figure out your why and your purpose. And you need to write that sucker down. You got to put it. I'm looking at my nightstand. I have it right there. I rewrite it
Mm.
before I go to bed. You need to figure out your why and your manifestations. How can this change your life for the better? And envision what would you want to do differently, because we only have one life, and but also remember it's never too late, and don't be hard on yourself because there's too many people doing like suicide things out there. Just don't be so hard on yourself, just one step at a time. Think about what we just said. It took me a year and a half just to cut back to 3 drinks in social events.
Yeah.
That was non-liquor. So I took away the chances of me forgetting my memory in my drinks, which is no liquor, right? And and then beers, I took away the beers because of all that wheat, and I'm like allergic to wheat. I realized I had a wheat reaction
Mm.
digestively. So that's not cool. I was like, I don't know why. Like my stomach's always fine at work all day, and then I have drinks with my buddy with pizza. It's like it's not good, and so I cut that out for a year and a half. And then eventually something happened with the goal. But I think my biggest why is just my kids, just thinking of my kids. What are they gonna think of me when I'm older, and what are they gonna think when I'm gone? You know, what legacy are you leaving behind? It's not about you. It's about the torches that you pass on and pass on to your kids. And they're not gonna remember what you said to them before they went to bed or at their
Mm.
game, or they're gonna always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. And it kind of just hits me emotionally too, because like that's your why. If you're just like, man, I just can't drink because it's not like, man, you are a father, get it together. Or if you're a son that is a caretaker for your mother that's 89 years old, that's your why. Like, you got to figure out what your why is. And it has to be so strong that the one moment you want to quit, it just pulls you back, because we're always going to have that inner bitch. Like, we're always going to have that inner side of us telling us like, you can't do it. There's no way you can do it. But you know what you did before you went to bed? You wrote down your why. You wrote down your purpose. And when you woke up and you clicked that alarm clock to get up and you grabbed your phone off of it, you saw what you wrote down the night before. And it just reminds you, this is why you're here on this earth. It's not about you. It's about what legacy
Mhm.
you leave on with that. That's why I love hockey coaching, because I'm passing. What am I going to just take all the hockey stuff that I learned and just bury it? No, you got to pass those little gems off to the kids, you know, and that's what I'm looking to do with all the dad athletes, or just dads that are out there that just want to get back to being healthy and getting that winner's edge, that competitive edge inside, because we're all competitive. We're men, like we're
Yeah.
meant to compete and hunt, um, you know, and we got to get that fire going. We're That's not meant to be like, oh well, honey, I'm not sure if I can go to the gym because Jessica's little birthday party. No, no, you wake up at 4 o'clock, you go to the gym, you get your workout done, you fill your cup before you fill others,
Yeah.
and that's what matters.
That's great. Thank you so much, brother, for your advice. So yeah, coming
Yeah,
to end of this podcast, it's been a great pleasure having you on the show. So those who's
absolutely.
listening, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself or want to follow you, like where they can find you.
Absolutely. So the Competitive Edge podcast, and then just search fatherhood. That I should come up. There's too many Competitive Edge podcasts out there. I didn't know that. But Competitive Edge podcast, and then just search fatherhood or Daniel Hickman in Google. It'll come right up on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, everything. Also on IG, I'm at Daniel Jason Hickman. I'm also an aspiring speaker. I have a gig in March. So anywhere, if you need anybody to hire me, then I'm more than willing to lift the spirits of our youth and all the dads and men out there.
All right, brother, thank you for that information. So I wish you best of luck with your business, your personal life, and thank you so much for coming to the show today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on, man. I look forward to listening to more of your podcast, and congrats having hundreds of episodes. So that's really inspiring for me.
Thank you. You're most welcome, brother, for coming to the
All right.
show. So that's a wrap, guys. So listening to the podcast episode with Mr. Daniel Hickman. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If anyone wants to learn more about him or like you want to follow him, you can find him social media platform, or like you can visit his podcast in Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. So until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode and take care, everyone.